Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a much warmer pattern in parts of the eastern United States that we're going to be experiencing, and then a chillier pattern which is going to be overtaking the western United States. So pretty much an exact flip of what we were dealing with just about a few days ago. We're also going to be talking about how the amount of rainfall that we've seen in parts of the southern plains. We've seen potentially over 10 inches of rain, even up close to 20 inches over the past 3 days, and even up to 7 days out. We've seen much higher rainfall totals, especially in areas like southern Texas and southern Louisiana. And we're also going to be quickly talking about two areas of disturbance in terms of tropical development in the Pacific and also in the Atlantic. Both of them will be offshore, but it is still definitely interesting to see these storms starting off and starting to get going here with the Atlantic and Pacific hurricane season. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. As you can see, we have some winter weather advisories in parts of California, Nevada, and Oregon, as well as for parts of Idaho and Montana, mainly in the higher elevation regions. We have freeze watches in effect for parts of California and Nevada as well, with some wind advisories out scattered into the western United States. We have red flag warnings into the southwest, as well as a couple high wind warnings dotted through parts of Utah and California. We have some flood watches also in parts of the southern plains, and then other than that, not many other watches or warnings currently in place. Yesterday we had a high temperature in Death Valley, California, where they got up to 109 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low temperature tied between four areas, all of them down to 25 degrees. 7 miles east of Williams, Arizona, they got to 25. Copper Basin, Idaho, they got to 25 as well. Climax, Colorado, and Rainier, Paradise, Washington, they also got down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was the national low temperature, which again was tied over four areas. The highest rainfall report was in Prine, Louisiana, where they got 12.4 inches, and you might think that's just kind of a fluke, and it's kind of just one of the outlier type of rainfall reports. But I was looking through and I was scrolling down through all these rainfall reports. There are multiple within the same geographical region, so within the same area, and I was able to verify based on how many reports we were getting in from that same area in Louisiana that there were probably many areas that were getting over 9-10 inches of rainfall that fell just yesterday. So a ton of rainfall fell over these areas, and unfortunately they're dealing with flooding all along the coast of Louisiana and Texas right now. So definitely our thoughts and prayers are out with the people who live within that area and who are experiencing that flooding, those flooding issues. Also, we had a high snowfall report 3 miles east-southeast of Fort Garland, Colorado, where they got 7.5 inches of snowfall yesterday. So here's the rainfall, and this is really extraordinary in terms of how much we've actually seen. This is over the last 2 days, and you can see that we have rainfall totals in that dark red, which is from 3 inches all the way to 5 inches. That's the dark red. In the brown, that's 5 to 7.5. In the purple, that's 7.5 to 10. In the pink color, that's where you're 10 or more inches of rainfall. So you can see all through this area at least 3 inches, and then you can see these pockets where, especially in areas like southeastern Louisiana or southwestern Louisiana, southeastern Texas, those areas got over 6 inches of rainfall, even up close to 10 inches or more, which you see in a couple of these locations. If we look at the past 7 days, you would see even higher totals in many of these regions. Also, just touching on what the National Hurricane Center is doing, this is the first disturbance that they've marked out on the map in the Atlantic basin. So whether or not this actually forms, they're talking about more of a subtropical type of development here. It doesn't look like it's going to be a huge big deal here, because we will actually be dealing with a little bit of chillier air briefly heading into the northern and northeastern United States at the same time. So as that does happen, as that dip in the jet stream happens, it will probably weaken the storm quite considerably. So I'm not expecting too much development out of this yellow shaded area right here. It's north of Bermuda, north of Bermuda, so it's not going to cause any issues to land, not even going to hit any of these islands out in the Atlantic. So it's going to be completely out to sea, but just very interesting to see that we're already off to a quick start. We're about 11 or 12 days early of the typical start of the Atlantic hurricane season, which is on June 1st. Here is the Pacific, and you also have a 30% chance of development within this region. And again, this is completely off the shore. before. Not expecting any real development. We could potentially see this get up to a tropical depression, maybe a very weak tropical storm. But even if it does, not a really big deal because it will be completely offshore. Just something that I thought I would mention and give you guys a quick update on, since this is one of the first storms that we're seeing of the season. Here is the European ensemble model, and we're going to start taking a look at the temperature anomalies, which is going to show you how far above or below normal the temperatures are. In the reds, the oranges, the browns, that's where you're above normal. In the blues and the greens and the purples, that's where you're going to be below normal. So you can see that in parts of the western United States, we have some of those chillier temperatures currently in place. So this would be for tomorrow. We have those chillier temperatures out along the west coast and into parts of the northwest, and also into the south central United States, but anywhere else away from there is going to be above normal. So from the Midwest and the northern plains all the way into parts of the East Coast, that's where we're dealing with those above normal temperatures and considerably above normal as you're getting into those brown and dark red shades. So that's where you're going to be the most above your normal and the most above average. Here to be by Friday, and you can see that we have temperatures that are going to continue to cool down over parts of the western United States. That chillier air mass is expanding, but now parts of the eastern United States more as a whole is getting into those warmer temperatures. So it is starting to warm up a little bit more into parts of the eastern United States, and that'll definitely be some good news for those of you who really did not like the past couple of days with all those chillier temperatures. It's going to be completely the opposite now. We're going into a much warmer pattern, and definitely a much more pleasant pattern, because it will be fairly dry. We'll see a couple of rainstorms here and there, but it'll be fairly dry, mixed in with these temperatures getting up into the 80s and 90s, and that's a pretty nice pattern for late May. So definitely nothing that we can really complain about in many of these areas. Here to be by Saturday, still chilly in parts of the south central United States and also out into the western United States, but also staying warm into parts of the eastern United States. So the eastern half of the country looking quite warm and nice as we go into the weekend here to be by Sunday. And by the way, this is the area of low pressure and the troughing that I was talking about while I was talking about the hurricanes that we were seeing, or the tropical development in parts of the Atlantic. As this rolls through, it'll probably weaken that storm north of Bermuda, so that's why I don't think there'll be too much development with that. Just something that I thought I would add on there. The warmer temperatures still going to be in parts of the eastern United States. The only areas that are going to be below normal are out further to the west of the Rockies, and then into the northern plains, pretty much hugging the Canadian border, and then also into parts of the southern plains where it is still going to be a little bit below normal. Here to be by Monday, and you can see the northeast does get a little bit chilly on Monday, potentially lingering into Tuesday a little bit, but then probably it's going to go right back to being above normal. So we're not expecting any long period of chillier temperatures. It's going to go right back to being above normal, and you can see that by Wednesday we're right back into the East Coast with those really warm and above normal temperatures throughout that region. The southern plains still staying chilly, so it looks like you guys are really not going to catch a break here. It looks like you'll probably stay a little bit colder than normal, and also for the northwestern United States also staying below normal and chillier than average. So not the best way to start off May or to end off May if you live in the western United States or in the southern plains, but definitely it's going to be quite pleasant if you live pretty much east of the Mississippi, where most of those temperatures will be above normal. Add on not too much rainfall, and that'll be a pretty good equation there. Here to be the actual high temperatures. So this would be for Thursday. And the key here and the guide to what all these colors on the screen represent are on the right hand side of your screen. You can see that we're dealing with temperatures in much of the central and eastern United States into the 70s at least, but most areas are actually getting up into the 80s, especially if you live into the eastern third of the country or in the southern half of the country. So those areas are getting well up into the 80s, and then even as you're starting to approach those gray colors, which you see in a little bit of Florida, Virginia, also into the southwest, that's where you're getting above 90, even approaching 100 in some parts of Arizona and Southern California. So getting really, really warm within those areas. If we look at for Friday, the 21st of May, and you can see we have those warmer temperatures actually intensifying a little bit more into the eastern half of the country. So really getting warm throughout these regions. We have 80s getting all the way up into parts of southern Ontario, also into Michigan, upstate New York, all throughout parts of the northern tier of the country. You guys are even going to start to deal with those 80s and maybe even some 90s further to the south. If we go through Saturday, it's starting to really heat up, and I think the area that even though you're not going to be the most above normal, the temperatures will definitely be the warmest in parts of the southeast, just because you already have a high enough average. So if you're maybe 10 degrees above normal and your average is 85 degrees anyway, you're going to now start to deal with temperatures that are in the mid 90s. So that's quite warm, and it's going to start to get quite toasty out there if you live in parts of the southeast, especially if you live east and south of the Appalachians, where it looks like the biggest threat of really warm temperatures is going to be. So you're already heating up into the 90s by Saturday, this Saturday, here to be by Sunday, and you can see up into the 90s, all the way as far north as New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and as far south as Florida. So pretty much the entire southeastern and mid-Atlantic coast under cover of those 90+ degree temperatures, even maybe approaching 100 as you're getting more into the lighter grays, even into the whitish colors there in parts of Georgia and the Carolinas as well. So starting to get really, really warm in many of these areas. Here to be by Monday of next week, and it's considerably chillier in parts of the Northeast. That's the day that we get that cold shot, and then eventually goes right back to being above normal. But in the Southeast, it's still getting really, really toasty and warm in those areas. So you might be dealing with another day where your temperatures are up near 95 to about 100 degrees in a lot of these areas, especially in southern Alabama, parts of interior Florida, so away from the coast, and then back through parts of the Carolinas as well. So all through the southeast is where it's going to be probably the warmest over this next 7 days. Here to be by Tuesday of next week, and you can see that it is warming back up for the northeast as they experience that quick shot of chillier air. It's also getting a little bit warmer in parts of the central United States now. Many of these areas are getting up into the mid 80s as far north as Minnesota and South Dakota, even maybe approaching the upper 80s in parts of the northern plains as well. So it is starting to get a lot warmer. It is also going to be a little bit warmer in parts of the southern plains. It's not going to be as cold as what we were dealing with the past couple of days. So eventually, even parts of the southern plains, even though you'll still be 1 or 2 degrees below normal, it won't be as cold as what we were dealing with later this week and also into the weekend. So it'll start to actually heat up a little bit into next week. And if we look at Wednesday, which is going to be our last frame here, you can see that we have really above normal temperatures. We have that mid 80s, the mid 80s, getting all the way up into parts of Maine and New Hampshire, and then we have the 90s getting up maybe as far north as Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. We'll have to see how far north that actually gets, but that would definitely be interesting to see those really warm temperatures that far to the north. So pretty much the entire eastern seaboard under the threat of really warm temperatures. If we look at the southeast, potentially a few triple digits into parts of the Carolinas, Virginia, Georgia, even into Florida. So getting really, really warm, definitely starting to feel like May, and this would be already the 26th of May, so we're only a few days away from June when it really starts to heat up there and we really start to get into the much warmer temperatures. Just a quick look at what the Climate Prediction Center is showing. You can see that we have above normal temperatures expected from the 24th through the 28th in many of these regions from the Rockies eastward. And you can see that they have the most above normal temperatures in through the southeast there, where it looks like you're probably going to have the warmest temperatures, maybe a few days where you're approaching the triple digits in some of these areas through that time frame. And if we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook from the 26th through the 1st of June, it's still very warm in the southeast, so that's the area that they're highlighting for to be the most above normal. And then also it'll maybe be a little bit chilly in parts of the northern plains, so you'll get a break from those warmer temperatures, and then eventually even the west coast, for those of you who live out there, might start to warm up maybe just a little bit at the tail end of that time period. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy these warmer temperatures if you live in the eastern United States, and hopefully you guys will also enjoy the chillier temperatures if you live out in the western United States. So that is going to wrap it up. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.